We are live, guys. Oh my gosh, I'm holding my mic. Here we are. So I'm Marcy Billen. I am a resident here in Norman, Oklahoma, and this is my weekly show all about real estate in Oklahoma and things that are real estate adjacent. So I'm very happy to have you all here today. So before we get started, be sure to hit that like button or even that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel yet, especially if you find this information helpful. This is the best way for me to grow, for more people to see this information, and ultimately to, for me to have more fun with this. That's what it is. I also have a newsletter list that you can opt into. So if you go down to the description, wherever you're watching this, then you'll find a link tree and you'll find a form that you can fill out just so you can be on that newsletter list. I produce 2 newsletters per month. So like this week, I don't have one because it's a 5th week of the month. They come out on Thursday mornings. So, as you may have guessed, I am a realtor here in the Oklahoma City metro since we're talking about things real estate and real estate adjacent. So, to be honest, I had a little bit of trouble coming up with something that I wanted to talk about today. Of course, we can talk about whether, oh, I do have a nose itch today. Whew. We can talk about whether we can talk about so many things with Oklahoma. And I always like to inject as much information as possible. And so I came across this article months ago called 100 Amazing Facts About Oklahoma. And the Oklahoman put it out. The Oklahoman is a newspaper here in Oklahoma City. I subscribe to it because I like newspapers more than the TV news. And I thought it was really interesting because it kind of gave a lot of insight about Oklahoma, the history of Oklahoma, and like what it's like to live in some of the different areas. So I thought we would talk about that. It's 100 facts. I honestly don't think we can get through 100 facts, but I guess we can try. So I'll share as much as I can. I want you to ask questions also. I think that that's really important. But first, let's have a chat about someone's texting me. Forgot to turn that off. Let's have a chat about the storms because I think it's national news. I'm not really sure because I don't watch national news. But we need to discuss it. So, first off, cheers, you guys. So, I have this drink. It's a sparkling water. I'm a big sparkling water fan. Yes, I'm a millennial. This is what we do. It makes me feel important. It makes me feel cool. So, this is actually a Chi Forest sparkling water. And we've been getting these from Costco. We've been getting these for months. But this one's Grape Delight. Oops, sorry. It's Grape Delight. I like the can design. I think it's cool. And it's very grape. It reminds me of the grape knee high. I don't know if you guys watched MASH growing up or in your life. I watched it growing up. I watched a lot of MASH. I'm pretty good at the first like 5 seasons. So I don't really like the seasons after that. They get kind of like a downer. But Radar drinks grape knee highs in that show. So that made me think of that whenever I took a sip. Cool. All right, guys. So storms. Make sure to drop your questions. I really want to hear from you tonight. The storms, there's a lot of storms that happened in Northeast Oklahoma over the weekend and last week. So I was actually in Claremore last week. That is where I'm from. And one of the things that happened, I didn't like, just to be honest with you, I'm not really good at working like my parents' televisions. So I didn't have, I didn't know that there was a storm. Like I watched the app on my phone. So the app that I watch or that I use is the Forewarn app. and that's channel 4 here in Oklahoma City, but I can use it anywhere in the US, and I do because I wanna see, like, where the storms are coming from. It's really interesting too to watch storms, like, in other places and how they move. Like, whenever I was in Austin, they move very differently than they do here in Oklahoma. So I was watching, the storms a little bit, and but they just didn't look that dangerous, so I didn't really pay attention. And then my phone went off with the "brr, brr, brr," which is, the National Weather Service warning you that there's a tornado on the ground. So I looked out the window and I didn't see anything. I know that sounds nuts, but I did. I looked out the window because of, like, where I was. I was, like, on top of a little hill because in northeastern Oklahoma, they have those. They have hills. Didn't see anything. I my Where I was staying, my parents they have a Frady hole, so well, it's not a hole, it's up it's above ground. So I got in that sort of, but I just didn't see anything, and then I finally figured out the news, and there was a tornado, and the storm chasers were a couple of miles down the road. I've never had to take cover at my childhood home before, ever. Like, my old house, I remember maybe, like, going down into the basement, but I don't remember that. And then Saturday night, which I came home Saturday morning, so I drove back to Norman Saturday morning. It's a 2.5-hour drive, and Saturday night, Claremore got hit with a really bad storm. So I was gonna share some of these photos with you and kind of I'm sharing this with you because this is often the questions that I get, from people about Oklahoma, is the weather, and it's tough. I didn't have this pulled up. I will say that, because, you know, it's scary. It's scary to think, like, it totally destroy your entire house in a matter of moments, and I do get that. So, maybe it's having a strong stomach, like, I don't know. Oh, I don't have this up here. Um Oh my gosh, the ads on this thing, and it's like, I pay for this, but I get it. I get it. I do. I get it that it's tough, right? I thought I had this up and I didn't. Oh, there it is. Here we go. Sharing this so you guys can see. Window. Here we are. So this is from Claremore. This is where I'm from, and I haven't lived there since 2007. That's when I moved to Norman, but I go a lot. Claremore is a town of like 25,000 people. I think. I think it's that big. It might be more like 20,000. It's a big, like, kind of sprawling city. Whenever I lived there, it was more like 15,000. And I did go to Claremore High School, et cetera, et cetera. So, this is the roof that got ripped off of this poor woman's house. And apparently there were 217 broken poles. Today is Tuesday. So my parents were out of electricity for 3 days, 2 days, 2.5 days. So quite a long time to go without air conditioning. And so lots of trees down. This is what it looks like in here. I think this is the same lady's house. Or no, that's a different person's house. Having the roof, the rafters blown off. This is the biggest church in town. It's First Baptist Church. So there was a lot of damage there. That's their big worship center, I guess. This is the main old part of the church. This is all that existed whenever I was a kid, but all the half of the roof got blown off there. Apparently that's the kitchen right there. I didn't know that, but I was informed of that. Big trees down. There's lots of trees in Claremore. That's one of the things about that city. This is a picture of the Rogers County Bank, RCB. No one ever, like, says RCB because we have them, or Rogers County Bank because we have them here. This is where I had my first checking account, was at Rogers County Bank, and this is their corporate office, and so the windows got blown out of that. And then this is actually in Pryor. So if you drive down Highway 20 going east or northeast, there's Claremore, but then the next town over is Pryor, which whenever I lived there was a very small town. And now it's quite large because Google has one of their data centers there. So that's one of the reasons that people move to Pryor often. It's a really big center that they have there. This house, it looks like maybe, I don't think a barn got completely destroyed. I think this was just a concrete pad, but the house had quite a bit of damage to it. And you can see another one there in Pryor. The top level or the attic, maybe it looks like, got completely, the roof got blown off of that. I know that 2 women died in Mayes County, which is the next county over as well. So, kind of a dangerous evening, and Claremore, the city, and I think it's still shut down now because they have to fix all those power lines, and they didn't want looters to come into the city as well. So, I knew that you guys probably wanted to hear about that, so I wanted to address it, and I'll bring up the map here, and this goes along with our first, kind of point that we'll talk about with our, um there we go. Yikes. There we go. With our oh my gosh, my words are leaving me right now. I'm sorry. This goes along with our first point with our facts, so you can kind of see where things are. So I live in Norman, which is south of Oklahoma City. I am from Claremore, which is up here, and you can't see it because it didn't come up. Come on. It's not coming up on this map. There it is. So Claremore is right there. That's funny how they always spell justice, Justice. That is not how you spell that. It is Just, justice, because it's the name of like a person, not the the thing justice. So that's how that goes there. That's a school. That's the school that I went to growing up, was Justice, Tiowa. Okay. Moving on from that, moving on to 100 facts about Oklahoma. And some of these are kind of boring. I will not lie to you, but a lot of them kind of give us an idea and a picture in our heads about things about Oklahoma that you may not have thought of before. So that's why I wanted to cover it. Here we go. So the lowest point in Oklahoma is Little River in McCurtain County at 289 feet above sea level. So whenever we look at the map, back to the map, Beaver's Bend, otherwise known as Broken Bow, which is a very popular place here in Oklahoma. People go there a lot for vacations. It's very expensive real estate down there. So it is in the far southeast corner. So if you're watching me right now, it's very close to Texarkana, which is kind of crazy. Texarkana is on the border of Arkansas and Texas. And then, so that's at 289 feet above sea level. And then the whole state kind of just goes in an upward, like we gain elevation as we go from southeast to northwest. So the highest point in Oklahoma is, and that's not in the facts, but I know it as a fact, is going to be Black Mesa. And it's way out here in the Panhandle. I've been wanting to go to Black Mesa. It's a state park, because the stargazing is supposed to be really nice, but I haven't been because it's a 6-hour drive from my house and there's nothing out there. So like basically if I go out there, I can stay in a hotel, but it'll be like quite a ways from the state park and I don't really want to do that. So I need to camp, which I don't really do very much. So I thought about doing the car camping thing, and you also have to bring your own food. So basically it's a big deal, and I can't go in the summer because it's really hot. It's a big hike up the Black Mesa. Let me see if I can find a photo for you guys. Yes, it looks kind of crazy. I haven't ever been there before, but I do really want to go. So here's one of them. So Black Mesa Park, it's at 4,973 feet above sea level. And let me see, they do have really great stargazing. So like this one, Won't let me click on it. Dang it. But it does have really great stargazing, which is the main reason I want to go out there. But I definitely can't go in the summer. And it's also four corners. So, four different states, Oklahoma, Texas, Colorado, and New Mexico meet in that spot as well. So that's pretty cool. Nice. I'm not gonna spend that much time on each one of these, that's insane, but I do think that one's a really cool fact. Water covers 1,200 or a little over 1,200 square miles of Oklahoma. There's 33.7 million acres of farmland here in Oklahoma. I believe the biggest crop that we have are soybeans, which is kind of shocking, but I believe that's the one. We do have 34 major reservoirs. We have to get our water from somewhere. Most water is actually used for irrigation. So if you travel out to Western Oklahoma, and I have some of this on my, I'm trying to get these ads out of here, on my channel. Western Oklahoma is really flat and there's a lot of farmland and they have to irrigate a lot because it doesn't get that much rain and a lot of our crops need more rain than what actually happens. So cheers, you guys. I have to take another drink. It's always hard to drink water whenever I'm on here by myself. And if you guys ask some questions, then I would have, more. But I'll wait for you to pop in on that. Okay. 60% of surface water is used for drinking water. Each town has different places that it gets its drinking water. Oklahoma does have 11,611 miles of shoreline. And that is more than the combined non-tidal coasts of the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. I don't really know what non-tidal coast means of that. But if you know, you let me know. Basically, there's a lot of shoreline, and there is a reason for that. Let me show you, actually, because that's a really good point that people don't see too often. Let me zoom in to a lake so that you can see this. I want to come up here. Yes. What lake is that? So here's Skiatook Lake. So you can see by the shape of this thing, which it looks like an octopus on steroids, that why we have so much shoreline, right? Because this was a river and they dammed it up. So these are all man-made lakes. That's why we have so much. So there's all these like little inlets and so much that goes on with these lakes. So like here's some more over here. Like this is Grand Lake. It looks like a Chinese dragon. Like the one that you see at Lunar New Year, Chinese New Year. You know what I mean. So that's why there's so much shoreline here in Oklahoma, is because there's a lot of like inlets and things like that. Perfect. Oklahoma is the nation's 20th largest state. It is 70,000 square miles. So it's big. It's bigger than countries in Europe. We'll put it that way. Cimarron County is the only county in the US that touches 4 states: Colorado, New Mexico, Texas, and Kansas. So that is where Black Mesa, the highest point in Oklahoma at that 5,000 feet above sea level, is located. And y'all, there ain't nothing out there. Like if you want nothing, that's where you go get it. Yeah. This one was kind of weird. The world's largest deposit of alabaster is at Alabaster Caverns near Freedom. I have never been there. I honestly don't even know where it is. That is how big Oklahoma is. It does take quite a while to go across it. I thought about like taking a bucket list for Oklahoma and visiting some of these places that I've never been to, because there are a lot. When you're from a place, you just don't go there as much. Like you don't explore. So I don't know. If you guys have done something like that, please let me know. I've thought about doing all the state parks. I love hiking. I think that might be fun. I do quite a few state parks, but like I haven't done that many. So we'll see. I'm thinking about it because I like doing like challenges, right? Yeah, we'll see. No other state has as many man-made lakes. That's what I was showing you with all the weird like little inlets that our lakes have. Mount I've I've never heard this before in my life. Mount Kavanaugh, west of Poto, is claimed to be the highest hill in the world at 2,000 or 1,999 feet. I think a mountain has to be 2,000 feet, but I don't know that information. Another fun thing. So, Poto, let's find it on the map. It's out here somewhere. I think maybe I've been there once in my life, possibly. My friend, who some of you guys know, Stacy Hesser, she's a YouTuber in Ardmore. Yes, that is where I thought it was. Tallahena and Sallisaw between those, and then almost to Arkansas. So Stacy called me one day and said, "Do you know who works in Poteau?" And I said, "Where?" She said, "Poteau." And I said, "Oh, do you mean Poto?" So she didn't quite know. That's how I pronounce it because there's another town called Shoto, which is spelled Chateau, and it should be chateau, which is the French word for castle or palace. But it's not. It's Shoto. So it's like the T is a D, and you just kind of take on this country twang. So that's why we say Poto. So if you live in Poto or you know how other people pronounce it, which I'm pretty sure that's how they say it, just let me know. Oh, goodness. That does taste like grape knee high. It's very good. The Poto River is the only river in Oklahoma that flows north. I was like, okay, cool. That's a whatever for me. Dinosaur fossils. Oh, sorry. Triassic period. Oklahoma was near the equator, hot and dry. It's still pretty hot and dry here. Not gonna lie to you. Today though, the high was only 80. Yesterday the high was 90, and it felt like I was frying, which does not bode well for the summer at this point. Dinosaur fossils are found in two places near Atoka, which is south, and then in the Panhandle. They have some dinosaur tracks, like fossilized dinosaur tracks out there as well. The state's largest lake is Lake Eufaula. I have heard people pronounce that Eufaula. It is definitely Eufaula, and I always pronounce it Eufaula in my head because I think it's hysterical. So I will show you where this is. A lot of people from Norman go to Eufaula. This is a pretty common lake. Eufaula is right here. So it's just north of McAllister. It's a very large lake. I think it's the largest in Oklahoma, actually. And there's lots of different spots. One of the popular places is Carlton Landing. Oh, let me show you guys a photo if you're watching. It's a planned community. And I don't think that cars are like allowed, or they don't have spots for cars. I want to see images. Thank you. And it's adorable. Here's a drone shot of it. Yes. So the houses are very expensive. There's a lot of walking, a lot of front porch. It's very southern looking. It's right on the lake. It's a really interesting little community. I have not been out there. I studied it a little bit because I am a student of like kind of urban development. So I think it's fascinating. We have a neighbor or a community like this in Oklahoma City. It's called the Wheeler District, but it's more Dutch and less southern. Let me show you that one actually. Wheeler District. It's much closer to my house, so I have been here. You can see it. It's hard to. Oh, I'm not supposed to show video. Okay. You're not supposed to show video on live streams. That's part of the. So, well, here we are showing video. So, still a lot of front porches, but it's more like Dutch row houses. So you can see kind of the style. But yes, we are talking about $745,000 for 2,500 square feet. That's pretty common. And they are gorgeous inside. I do quite like them. I love that neighborhood. It's on the old Wiley Post airfield, and it's really close to downtown. So if that's something you're interested in, you just let me know. So yeah, Carlton Landing is out there on Lake Eufaula. If you hear a little like something in my voice, it's because last week I was sick and now I'm better, but my voice still has this funkiness to it. So that's fun. The largest lake is Lake Eufaula. Just showed you that one. Second largest is Texoma. Texas plus Oklahoma equals Texoma. Like for so long, that did not dawn on me. I had no idea. So yeah. The world's largest concrete totem pole is in Foyle. It is 60 feet tall and 30 feet around. If you don't know what a totem pole is, I can show you. And I have seen this because I grew up really close to this thing, and my mom worked in Foyle, so it was just there. But here's some photos of it. It's kind of funky looking. It's very, I don't know. It's got a face. So if you need to check off a box about seeing a giant totem pole, you need to go to Foyle. That's where you need to be. I don't even remember the first time I saw it. 1948. Wow, that's when they built it. Interesting. Custer County was named for General Custer. Yeah, I don't even know where it is. So yeah, you're seeing how big Oklahoma is in that fact. Like, because I pride myself in knowing a lot about Oklahoma, and there are just some things like I can't absorb it all. Oklahoma produces more gypsum than any other state. I think that's a white substance. Oklahoma is one of 3 states that produce helium. I don't know how you produce helium. I don't know. Oklahoma is the only state that produces iodine. Okay, sure. Northwest Oklahoma fulfilled 24% of the U.S. iodine needs in 1998. That's very specific. 1998. This is what happened. That's hysterical. The elevators in the Frank Lloyd Wright designed Price Tower in Bartlesville are half hexagons. Yes. So the Price Tower in Bartlesville is, I think I've seen it in person once. I haven't been to Bartlesville very much. I do want to show you guys because I think it's cool, but I really like Frank Lloyd Wright design. Let's have a look and show you if my computer is going to decide that that's a good idea. So let's see. I want Price Tower. Sure, that's fine. I watched something on TV about this fairly recently. Oh my gosh, I hate whenever they don't have you can stay there. It is an inn, I guess. Ugh, ugh, I just want the no, no. Anyway, it's you can kind of see it in this, and you can look it up if you want to. But the elevators inside, and then the rooms are really interesting, very strange looking. Let me see if we can see inside the rooms. They are fascinating. Let's see. Okay, yeah. So you can see kind of the weird angles on it. I know that they redid some of these because they did not look like this before. This one is a pretty big one. They don't have a lot of photos up, which makes sense because it's Oklahoma and sometimes we don't do well at marketing. Yeah. Okay, back to our 100 amazing facts. Veneta was the first city in Oklahoma to have electricity. I've been to Veneta quite a lot because my mother is from Veneta. So I used to go once a month, probably as a kid. And some guy from Indiana was Oklahoma Territory's first governor. If you didn't know, Oklahoma was a territory, or 2 territories actually, up until statehood in 1907. So it was Oklahoma Territory and then what they called Indian Territory. So Indian Territory was the east side, which is Tulsa, and Oklahoma Territory was the west side, which is where I live here, the start of it, where I live here in Oklahoma. Steele was appointed by President Harrison and arrived in May of 1890. So he had never even been here. How wonderful. By 1890, the Republicans and Democrats in the legislature were squabbling over sides for the university, schools, and the Capitol. So he didn't last very long because he couldn't take that. The university, of course, that they established in 1889, or one of them, is University of Oklahoma, which is here in Norman. And then I don't remember when Oklahoma A&M, which is Oklahoma State University, was established. It may have been 89 as well because they needed that university. The capital was in Guthrie at that point, and I'm not sure which schools they put into place. All governors were born in Oklahoma except three: Dewey Bartlett, David Bourne, and Frank Keating. I didn't know that David Bourne wasn't born in Oklahoma. So he was president of the University of Oklahoma whenever I was in school, and I did take his class. Since he served as a senator in Congress, he also served as a governor of Oklahoma and then the president of OU. Some people don't like him, some people do. I just thought it was interesting, like all the people that he knew. So that was fascinating for me to learn all of that stuff. I don't know who Henry Belmont is, but he became first elected Republican governor in 1963. Oklahoma, of course, was a part of the 1803 Louisiana Purchase, which is how Oklahoma became part of the U.S. That's a very interesting piece of history, the Louisiana Purchase. There are lots of perspectives on that one. Really fascinating stuff. In 1905, the 5 civilized tribes tried to get statehood for Indian Territory under the name Sequoia. This is something they beat into our heads in school, is that Sequoia, who, it was Native American person, Cherokee, tried to make a state called Sequoia, and presumably tried to make the capital Tahlequah. Tahlequah is a town here in Oklahoma. I often tell people it's a great place to live, which I visited a few times, but I don't necessarily know too much about it. And I think it's just a cool spot because I think it's beautiful. That's the main reason. But yeah, they tried to make a state and they really like beat that into us as kids. I just remember that so specifically from so many classes in school. I don't know. I don't know what was going on with that. Grady County was named for Henry Grady, Atlanta Constitution editor. Like, what? Why is this one of the facts? Grady County is one of the counties where Blanchard is located. I sell a lot of houses in Blanchard. I don't know what's going on there. Blaine County was originally called C County and renamed in honor of a presidential candidate in 1884. Like, guys, really, is this really one of the 100 facts about Oklahoma? Logan County was designated county number 1. Logan County is where Guthrie is located. I made a video. I've been making a video for a couple of weeks about the 10 best places to live in Oklahoma, and Logan County is highlighted on that video. So definitely subscribe so you can see that video whenever it comes out, which will be next week. 45,091 Oklahomans voted the socialist ticket in the 1916 presidential elections. Remember that socialism was a bit different in 1916. We did not have the USSR at that point. It was in the middle of World War I, so the world was extremely different than it is now. I don't know who this George Nye person is, but he served 4 terms as governor, which is a very long time. Typically, it's 2. Ed Malzahn made a trencher to replace a shovel in installing underground utilities. His machine became the Ditch Witch. I do know people that work for Ditch Witch. If you don't know what that is, it's a company, and I think they're based here in Oklahoma. Edward Roberts, a 1968 Oklahoma State University graduate in electrical engineering, is credited with inventing the personal computer. So that is fascinating. I don't know what's going on here. Okay. Someone just called me and I was just making sure that it wasn't an emergency. That's all. Major General Philip H. Sheridan staked out the site for Fort Sill in 1869. Okay, cool. I don't know who these people are. This one was interesting to me. Sheridan's force included the scouts Buffalo Bill Cody and Wild Bill Hickok. So one of my favorite books is not about Buffalo Bill Cody, but it's about people that worked for him. So um, I always find that kind of like wild country stuff interesting. Geronimo, of course, is buried at Fort Sill, if you didn't know that, and he died of pneumonia in 1909. Pensacola was the site of an 1862 Civil War battle. It's the only Civil War battle that happened in Oklahoma, and the Confederates did win that. This is one of the things that I say that why Oklahoma isn't really Southern is because we weren't a state during the Civil War. So we're a little bit more Midwestern because of that. I'm not gonna talk about that one. I'm like, oh gosh, that's if you guys can read it, you can see what I mean. Honeybee is a state insect. I did not know that. I really didn't know that. I thought it was something else, to be honest. The state motto is Labor Omnia Vincit, which is labor conquers all things. Not my favorite saying in the world, but there it is. State colors are green and white, which I think is funny because the main color on our flag is definitely blue. The state's floral emblem is mistletoe, which is also funny because mistletoe is a parasite. It's a parasite. So it kills trees. Yep, fantastic. The Oklahoma rose was adopted as a state flower. The official state wildflower is the Indian blanket. Okay, I do want to show you guys this one. Indian blanket flower. Because we see them. I've seen them all over the place right now. So if you can see that, this is the Indian blanket. I think they are gorgeous. And we do have a lot of wildflowers. And like in Norman, they plant a lot of them because it's good for the bees. And we want to keep the bees alive because it keeps the ecosystem going. But I think these flowers are especially gorgeous. And I think I have a package full of the seeds. So I need to plant them in one of my flower beds or around some of my trees. I'd like to turn the whole entire front yard into wildflowers, but I don't think that my husband will like that very much. That is my opinion. Back to our facts. The neighbor is also mowing. So if you can hear him, the poor guy, I think he mowed last time. It must be his Tuesday night activity. He mows with these rubber boots that are rolled down and shorts on. I don't know why he has boots on if he has shorts on, but he does. Pretty funny. Oh my gosh, guys, Saurophaganax. That sounds terrible. Maximus, the largest of the Jurassic era predators, was named the official state fossil in 2000. I think they were kind of reaching for some of these things that they're talking about. Okay, what I put on my thumbnail for this video was the official state meal of Oklahoma. And it's really big. I did this for another video, but I just thought it was crazy how much food this was. So fried okra, grew up eating that all the time. Squash, delicious if we're talking about yellow squash, but also if we're talking about zucchini, because I like that as well. Cornbread, it depends on how you make cornbread, how good that is. Barbecue pork, absolutely not. I do not do barbecue. Biscuits, delicious as long as they're homemade. Sausage and gravy, and we are talking about sausage and white gravy, like the biscuits and sausage gravy. I love white gravy, sausage gravy. It is so good. Grew up eating that all the time. Did not know that in the North, people don't have sausage gravy, white gravy. So, yeah, delicious. Grits. This one always confused me. I have rarely, if ever, seen people eat grits in this state. You cannot order them at restaurants, and if you do, they're pretty gross. I haven't seen people make them in their houses, so I don't know what they're talking about with this because we don't eat grits. Corn for sure, corn on the cob, strawberries, heck yes, so good. My grandma had them in her garden. I love them. Chicken fried steak, not my favorite thing to eat, but I know of a lot of places where you can get a good one. Pecan pie, eh, it's good. And we had pecan trees on our property growing up, so I spent days picking up the pecans, etc. Black-eyed peas, I don't know that I've ever eaten black-eyed peas, but apparently that's on our official state meal. It's a lot of things. It's a lot of food. And if you've eaten all that in one sitting, I hope it was just a smattering of each. So, good luck with that. Port silt loam is the state soil. Sandy loam is typical soil for what you find here. People associate Oklahoma with the red clay. We have a lot of clay here in Norman. They don't have that clay all over the state. Like where I'm from in Northeast Oklahoma, there's not clay. It's the sandy loam stuff. So yeah. The dirt is red because of weathered sands, siltstones, and shale. Yes, I think I made not an entire video about that, but a little bit of one where I was like sitting in the red dirt. So that's fun because our entire neighborhood is that. Red dirt is found on more than 1 million acres in 33 counties in Oklahoma. They talk about an official state poem and then they go into Will Rogers. So Will Rogers is a comedian actor who was someone really got onto me last time about this. Was I talking about Will Rogers in another video? But Will Rogers is from my hometown, Claremore, and he died in a plane accident in the 20s, I believe, with Wiley Post. And I think it's the Claremore paper, but they post like a comment or a quote of Will Rogers every time they put a paper out. So yeah. Oklahoma ranks 27th among the 50 states in population. Oklahoma City is actually the 20th largest in Oklahoma, the 20th largest city in the US. So Oklahoma City is the 20th largest city in the US. Cheers, Elisa. Thank you so much for leaving me a comment. I appreciate it. I think you knew I needed a drink. There is an average of 50.3 people per square mile in Oklahoma. By comparison, New Jersey has 1,134 people per square mile. That is the biggest reason I see people moving here is because there is room. Now, it's not like, oh, every square mile only 50 people can live there, obviously, but you can find some space here in Oklahoma. 24% of Oklahomans are younger than 18, 6.9% are younger than 5, and 13.2% are 65 and older. I'm pretty sure that number is larger now because Oklahoma it's known and has been written about as a really good place to retire because of our tax structure for your retirement money and of course for veterans, which I made a pretty recent video about. Eastern Oklahoma gets an average of 56 inches of rain, snow, whatever, annually, and the Panhandle, the average is 17 inches. It's quite a big difference. The Panhandle definitely looks like a desert. I think I've driven through it twice in my life, and they definitely get a lot of rain and have a lot more vegetation out in the eastern side. The record for single day rainfall is 15.68 inches, and that sounds like a flood waiting to happen. No, thank you. Oklahoma's growing season ranges 168 days in the Panhandle to 240 days along the Red River. The Red River is the river that separates Oklahoma from Texas. Oklahoma City has an average of 85 rainy days in 1 year, and it rained today, I think. Yes, it did. I walked out of the office and it was raining. The highest temperature ever recorded was 120 degrees Fahrenheit in Tipton, which I think is in eastern Oklahoma. I'm not positive. Lowest temperature was -27 in Veneta in 1905, and in Watts, I don't know where that is, in 1930. We get Oklahoma City records an average of 9.5 inches of snow, ice, and sleet in a year. That is not all snow. Read that. I did not say that it's all that it's all snow. Sleet and ice are a real thing. Um, Oklahoma records an average of 54 tornadoes each year. We've talked about that. The high, November 11th, 1911, the high in Oklahoma City was 83 degrees. The low was 17 degrees. Ooh, dang. That's wild. 17 species of native animals and bugs are endangered. Oklahoma does rank 4th in wheat production. We do grow a lot of wheat in this state. Oklahoma is 4th in cattle and calf production. Big cattle operations here for sure. Oklahoma is 5th in pecan production. 67 tribes inhabited Indian territory. That is a lot of tribes. And all of them were moved from other places to Indian territory, which is eastern Oklahoma. Um, Oklahoma is the place where 4 cultural regions meet. I agree with this 100%. The West, Midwest, South, and Southwest. Like, that could not be more true. Oklahomans spend about 3.5 million days hunting annually. People hunt a lot here, so we're talking ducks, deer, different like guns and bows and things like that, quail, turkeys. I saw many turkeys while I was in Claremore this past week. What else? I think that's it. Yeah. Fort Gibson and Downingville, which is Veneta, were the first incorporated towns in 1873. I knew that Veneta was. I feel like, I don't know. There was another town Afton, I thought, was the first town. They're saying Fort Gibson. Afton is also near Veneta. The first of 14 flags to fly over Oklahoma was the Royal Standard of Spain. Yes, makes sense. Spanish got here first. Sequoia's given name was George Gist. Woo, that's the last one on our list. Sequoia has a lot of interesting history around him as a person, and I challenge you to look into some of the Native American history that we have here in Oklahoma because it's fascinating and there are a lot of different perspectives. Like we said, there is a museum here called the First Americans Museum, and it's really cool, and they're building a resort next to it. And that should be done really soon because they just put up the sign. So I think you should go and check that out. It's a fun stop in Oklahoma City, definitely. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. Hopefully I thought that the list was kind of weird in some places, but interesting in others. So I appreciate you coming along for the ride. I will see you guys next time.